Okay, on this problem, our goal is that we want to be able to graph an exponential function that has some transformations that have happened to it, as well as its asymptote, and then a logarithmic function that also has some transformations going and its asymptote. Now, this does indicate that we want to have 3 points, at least 3 points. However, we only need 2 to get a really good graph with this homework system. So, first of all, our exponential function. When we take a look at this, we're dealing with a number raised to the x power. Now, in general, it's just called b to the x, where b is the base. And what you want to do is you want to locate some key points. Now, when you're dealing with exponential functions, it always goes with 0, 1, and then 1, comma, whatever the base is. Shouldn't be too bad considering, like, if we plugged in a 0, you get b to the 0 power, which equals 1. If you plugged in a 1 for your x value, you get b to the first power, which is the same thing as b. So in our case, what we're going to do is we're going to locate these key points and then move them around thinking transformations. So for ours, we're dealing with 3 to the x power. So our key points are going to be 0, 1, and then 1, comma, 3. Going to go ahead and plot those. So we have 0, 1, our y-intercept, and 1, 3. And the rest of this graph is going to get close to the x-axis as you move off to the left-hand side. So it has a horizontal asymptote that starts at the x-axis at y equals 0. So we're going to have to remember that when we move this off of the x-axis. Normally, we don't use a dashed line to indicate it until it moves off of the x-axis. So start with those key points. And the next thing we want to do is we want to apply these transformations. And these transformations can be applied in either direction. We could start with the 1 or we could start with the 2. I'm electing to begin with the 1. Because this 1 is attached directly to the x, what's going to happen is it's going to be a horizontal shift. And horizontal shifts kind of work the opposite direction as what you would think they should. That when you're adding 1, that's actually moving everything to the left. They're a little bit counterintuitive. So what happens is we pick up those key points and they're going to move to the left 1 as well. So we had a key point at 0, 1. When we pick it up, move it to the left 1, it's going to be at negative 1, 1. So I'll list these out as we go. So negative 1, 1. And then our other key point was at 1, 3. So as we pick it up and move it to the left 1, it's going to be at 0, 3. All right, so negative 1, 1, 0, 3. The rest of the graph picks up and moves over to the left 1 as well. Now, we didn't move our horizontal asymptote. It's still at the x-axis. And finally, the last transformation we have going on here, we have this minus 2. The subtracting 2 is attached to the entire function. It's not up in the exponent with the x. So this is going to be a vertical movement. What's going to happen on this one is it's going to move everything down 2 units. So again, our key points, we're going to track those around. They were at negative 1, 1. So that moves down 2 units. It's going to be at negative 1, negative 1. And our other key point was at 0, 3. It's going to get picked up and moved down 2 units as well. So it's going to be at 0, 1. The other thing that did move on this one as well was that horizontal asymptote. So we had what? Negative 1, 1, 0, 1. Wait, negative 1, negative 1, 0, 1. Okay, our horizontal asymptote was located at the x-axis. It needs to be picked up and moved down 2 units as well. So I'm going to indicate that by a dashed line. It was at the x-axis. When it moves down 2 units, it's going to be at negative 2. So the horizontal asymptote is at the y equals negative 2 at this point. The rest of our graph is going to kind of fall in place and have this look going to it. All right, so as we take a look at that, we've got our key points, we've got our horizontal asymptote. At the end of this video, I'll show you how to get it into our homework system so that it likes it and we can get full credit for this. But before we get everything in there, let's go ahead and do one with logarithmic functions. So in general, again, key points, let's identify these, and these are flip-flop versions of the ones we had up above. So instead of 0, 1, it's going to be 1, 0. Instead of 1b, it's going to go as b, comma 1. Now, why that works out is because log base b of b to the first power, because we have an exponential function inside of a logarithmic function, what's going to happen is you get some nice canceling out because these are inverses, and you're going to be left with 1. All right, so in our case, we have log base 3 of x. So our key points are going to be 1, 0, and 3, comma 1. 1, 0, 3, comma 1. Get those placed in the right spots. Now what happens is we have a vertical asymptote going on here that starts out at the y-axis. We're going to track that around as we move this using transformations as well. So using transformations, the next one I'm going to apply is we want to get y equals log base 3 of x minus 1. Again, this 1 is grouped with the x, so it's going to be a horizontal shift. But horizontal shifts kind of work the opposite direction you initially think they should. They're kind of counterintuitive, so this is going to move everything to the right, 1 unit. So again, we track around those points. We were at 0, 1 moves to the right 1. It's going to be at 0, 2. And then our other point was at 3, 1, moves to the right 1. It's going to be at 4, 1. The other thing that moves to the right 1 unit is that vertical asymptote. So the vertical asymptote was at the y-axis. Now it's going to pick up and move to the right 1 unit. We're going to represent that using a dashed line now that it's off the axis. So that's going to be now located at, x equals 1. All right, our other key points, we said we're at 0, 2, and at 4, 1. So the rest of this graph gets picked up, moved over to go along with those key points. And the last transformation we have to deal with on this one is the +2, as you can see over here. This +2 is attached to the entire function, therefore it's going to move everything either up or down. Vertical movements work kind of the way we think they should. So this one's going to move everything up 2 units. Therefore, taking the point that was at 0, 2, that's 2, 0. Get that correct for us, 2, 0. And it's going to move everything up 2 units, so 1, 2 up. So that's going to be the ordered pair 2, 2. And then finally, we have that ordered pair at 4, 1. At 4, 1, it gets picked up, moved up 2 units, so that's going to be at 4, 3. The vertical asymptote is going to remain at an x value of 1. So x value of 1 is going to be our vertical asymptote. Sketch that in real quickly. And then 2, 2. 2, 2 is right here. And 4, 3. Bring everything else along. And that's what our graph looks like. All right, now to get it in the homework system. All right, to get this in the homework system appropriately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I want to get the correct tool underneath there. All right, this is a square root graph. So we need an exponential graph. So the first thing I need to do is I need to click over to this tool. Now I'm going to go to my key points, which we said we're at -1, -1. And then 0, 1. So 0, 1. Click those in, but notice we also want to put the asymptote in here. So I need a line for our horizontal asymptote. And notice we said our line was at y equals -2. So we have to pick a couple points there at y equals -2. Go ahead and we'll submit it in a second. And then the other one, our logarithmic function, Again, we don't want the square root graph. We want this to look like an exponential function, sorry, a logarithmic function. So I need to use this key down here. All right, this tool. And our key points were 2, 2, so 2, 2, and then 4, 3. And again, we also need to get full credit by putting in the asymptote. This time, asymptote's going to be this line. It's going to be at x equals 1. So we need to pick a couple points at an x value of 1. Go with those and hit submit. Now, it's not going to draw a dashed line like we normally would get, but it is going to give us a nice line where we want it. All right. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. See ya.